What's up, YouTube? I've been creating mountain bike content since 2017. And to be honest, I haven't been using a 360 camera because I'm a little anxious about learning a new camera and how much extra effort it could be editing. This is the DJI Osmo 360 camera, and maybe you've been using a regular action camera for years just like me. Or maybe you've never had an action camera and you don't know whether or not you should buy a regular one or a 360 camera. So let's dive in this together and figure out whether or not it's all it's cracked up to be, and while I make a decision, hopefully it can help you make yours. So first things first, what's a 360 camera?
If you're using a typical action camera, it's filming what's out in front of you. The lens has a width that the camera is able to see. That width is called field of view, or FOV for short. In the widest settings, the FOV of regular action cameras is typically in the 150 to 160 degree range. The field of view on a 360 camera goes all the way out to each side, capturing 180 degrees. It has a lens on it that's rounded in a way so that you can get that super big FOV. The thing that makes it different is there's another one on the other side. The only thing to remember when using one is that when the software stitches those two recordings together, there's a slight distortion in the image. Because of that, you still want to be cognizant of how you point the camera. Those two images together give you a 360 degree view of everything around you, hence the 360 camera.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what's in the box.
By the way, DJI sponsored this video.
Of course, DJI sent me a ton of stuff, but for the most part, I only used a few things. So let's talk about the camera and the few things that I use the most, and maybe if we have time, we'll talk about some of the fun shots you can do with this other stuff.
This is the adventure combo. I think it's the best combo to start out with just because it comes with the camera, the invisible selfie stick, a magnetic mount for it, 3 batteries, and a little battery case. And a cool thing about that case is you can use it as a power bank too. The only thing that you need outside of that for cycling is the chest mount and the magnetic GoPro mount. The camera has a 1-inch sensor that shoots 8K 360 video. It also has a single lens mode that works like a regular action cam. You can run it in 155 degree field of view or in boost mode, which is 170 degrees. If you're not a camera buff, it means it's kind of 3 cameras in one, which makes the price not seem so bad. It also weighed in on my scale at 186 grams as compared to my regular action camera that weighed 180 grams. Realistically, we're talking about 2 to 3 pennies, so not much difference.
Enough of the nerdy camera stuff. Let's talk about how this thing films. For the most part, I use 2 mounts. One, the chesty that I mentioned, and if you have one from an older camera, I would consider maybe looking at this one because it not only has the mount on the front, but it also has a mount on the back so you can get those shots from behind you. It's one of those things that you look at later and you're like, why doesn't every chest mount come that way? The other mount that I use the most and arguably has some of the better shots is the chin mount. So in order to do this, you need some kind of mount to get it onto your full face helmet. There's a bunch of websites online that 3D print different ones for each individual helmet manufacturer. So look up your helmet and 3D print, you'll probably find one. The other thing you'll need is one of these magnetic mounts, which is essentially a GoPro style mount that just has a magnet in it so you can easily attach and detach the camera kind of on the fly. This actually comes in handy a lot. I mean, I've always argued that the thumb screw is like the same thing, but once you start using these magnetic mounts, it's really nice to just be able to pull the camera off, check your settings, maybe change something, and put it back on. Oh, and pro tip. When you do this and you take something off and you change something, do yourself a favor and swipe down and lock the screen before you stick it back on. I can't tell you how many shots I messed up because I accidentally was fumbling around on the screen and then changed some setting. So there you go. Now you know.
When using the chest mount, you can either point it down or point it up. When you're pointing it down, I've noticed that the shots get a lot of handlebars. If you want the shot to look something like this, then point it down. Just remember to give the camera a little tilt so when you're holding the handlebars, you don't end up seeing some of that 360 stitching distortion in your shots.
Woo!
Unlike regular action cameras, I noticed that it actually looks better when you point the camera up. When mounting this way, try to lean the camera as far back towards your body as you can so you get the best shot. I did try the backward shot. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody following me, but you get the idea. In case you're wondering what it looked like mounted, here you go. When shooting on the chin in 360 mode, the angle doesn't matter as much, but still keep those distortion spots in mind. However, know that when you're using single lens mode, it doesn't mean half the 360. You can adjust those shots later like 360 footage. So the camera needs to be lined up right, or things aren't going to look great. And speaking of things not looking good, also, remember when I said lock the screen earlier? Definitely remember to do that, or you'll get home like I did and see a half an hour of your stomach. The magnetic mount is key for this because once you have it in the right spot, it's always there. Set it and forget it. Since DJI sent me a bunch of mounts, I felt like I was obligated to use them, so I mounted one of them to my swing arm. The thing that made it really fun was in the edit, I was able to move the angle around and get the shot that I was looking for. Or maybe the one that I didn't know I was looking for. The same thing goes for setting up a tripod and riding by it. Just keep in mind, you do have that distortion spot, so make sure the lenses are pointing towards the majority of the action. I also put the mount on the back of my seat post and got this angle here, but keep this in mind when setting it up. As long as we don't smash the suspension all the way down, we won't hit it. You can also extend the invisible selfie stick as far as it goes, put it on a tripod, and put it up somewhere high. Like this shot here, I put it on top of my truck to make the shot look like a security camera or maybe even a drone in a low hover. Some of you may have noticed this extra mount on top of my helmet. I thought it'd be fun to try something like that. So this is what it looks like. I don't know. What do you guys think? Ultimately, getting those fun artsy B-roll shots with this camera is way less stressful and a lot easier than using a regular camera. Because when you're using this, you don't have to really worry about exactly what the shot is framed like with the camera. If I was using a regular camera, I'd have to get out the app or have something where I can actually see exactly where it's at. And then hopefully, maybe while I'm riding, nothing bounces around and gets screwed up. Where this can bounce around, or it cannot even be mounted exactly perfectly, but while you're editing, you can adjust that. And honestly, that takes a lot of the stress out of it. So since I brought up editing, let's get to that, because that was the part that I was honestly most worried about. I'm not gonna BS you here. There's a learning curve. It's definitely different. If you're just getting an action camera for the first time and it is a 360 camera, I would say the learning curve is pretty close to learning how to edit anyways. If you've been editing for a while, the extra steps didn't take me long to pick up. And even though the idea of learning something new was daunting, in reality, it wasn't bad. Here's another pro tip. Take the time to learn the keyboard shortcuts for the DJI software. You can really get fast at reframing with the K key and the space bar. I did notice that I had to adjust the way that I create videos a little differently. Instead of sitting down with the 3D footage and picking out my shots through everything that I rode, what I would do is start to create my story and then go and grab the shots that I want from it. This camera really grew on me. My expectations when I started was this was going to always be a B-roll camera, and it's starting to look like it's going to be my main camera. But before we fully commit to that, let's talk about some of the cons. The number one con that you see all over the internet, and I agree with, is this lens right here, you can't replace it yourself. So if it gets scratched, then you got to send it back to DJI to get fixed. I can say that dropping your camera or crashing and the lens getting scratched has happened to me 2 different times when I had a lens mod for my old GoPro. So it happens all the time. The flip side is you can go out and buy yourself some lens guards and put those on there. That'll give you a little peace of mind. The software actually has a spot in it where you can tell it that you're using those lens guards, so it can try to make some modifications to make that less apparent. So they're thinking about it. The other end of it is if you're just a regular person and not a content creator and you have to send it in to get replaced, I would imagine it's not as pertinent to you to be able to fix this immediately. The other con for me is just the audio, and this is probably only because I'm a content creator. Whenever you use the software audio extra noise fixer, I just don't like the way that it ramps in and out of things. I like it to sound a little bit more natural, and that's why I ended up putting these little dead cats on. What they do is just allow that wind noise to go away without using the software portion of it.
The downside is if this is mounted to my chin, I am breathing right on this mic, which you could hear in some of my shots. And that's kind of a drag. So I wish in the software that I could go in and disable certain mics. That would be amazing to me. Even at the very least, DJI, if you're listening to me, let me disable these two and leave these two on, please. That would make a huge difference for whenever it's chin mounted, that you're not just hearing me breathing all over it. I really truly thought that I was gonna get to the end of this video and tell you guys that if you're not a content creator, this is the camera to go for. And if you're a content creator, this is a B-roll camera. And it really has won me over in a way that I totally didn't expect. So with that being said, if you've been thinking about getting a 360 camera and you're a little bit nervous, don't worry about it. The learning curve's not too bad. You'll be able to figure it out. And overall, this is just a way more versatile camera. So I would say go for it. And if none of that matters to you, or you're already completely against 360, or maybe you already have one, you just watch this for fun, remember one thing, it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.